Welcome to Harnessing Your Wealth. Most people think wealth begins and ends with a bank account. I don't. To me, wealth is the collection of everything that makes a life rich. Your health, your relationships, your character, your purpose, your freedom, and yes, your finances too. Sometimes the greatest wealth is discovered only after we've lost something that we thought we couldn't live without. Amberly Snyder understands what it's like to lose something life-changing. Yet Amberly has discovered what true wealth means. Buckle in for a very moving and inspirational conversation with this amazing young lady. Amberly, welcome to the show, Harnessing Your Wealth today. Grateful to have you on.
Absolutely. I'm excited to get to visit.
So tell me about your first experience with horses. How old were you when you maybe saw your first horse or maybe got on your first horse?
So I started riding when I was 3. My first time on a horse was actually, I think it was my first or second birthday that my parents got the ponies that would come to your birthday and you could sit on a pony and they'd walk them in circles or whatnot. So there is a picture out there of me sitting on a pony, falling asleep, actually, is what the picture is. So it was at my birthday that I was falling asleep on that pony. So that's the very first, I would say, time I was on one. But then when I was 3, my family lived in California and they found a place that would take a 3-year-old to start riding lessons. So that was really where we started.
Well, that just shows you're a natural. When you're so comfortable on a horse that you're falling asleep, that shows that you're supposed to be on one, I believe.
I think that's probably true.
I didn't have the same experience myself. My dad put me on a pony and we were trying to pick one out when I was about that same age. And they just sat me on one and it happened to be the craziest one in the whole pen. And it took off and ran off with me all the way across the pen and then slammed on the brakes and threw me into the fence. And it took a little while for me to gain the confidence to want to get on another one. But it wasn't long where they made me get back on. So I think
I was like, heck yeah, that would not be the first experience that you would look forward to.
I mean, yeah, it just so happens. It kind of terrifies a little kid, I think, to, you think I'm supposed to be riding horses because everybody in my family is, and that's what happened. So I think it's important for parents to know, make sure you put your kid on a horse that's a little bit gentle for the very first time.
I think it would probably start the confidence better for sure.
Yes, yes. Now, were you riding ponies and everything up until you graduated to a larger horse, or did you start with larger horses right off the bat?
A little bit of both. So the place that I did the riding lessons in California, they had a couple horses that I could ride with. They also had this little pony named Gabby that I fell in love with. And what I loved the most about her is that because I was 5, that I could saddle her by myself. So I liked the pony for the reason that I could do everything by myself on her. So I rode the pony until, like I said, they would put me on the horses sometimes, right? But I did like to ride the pony for that reason. And then when we moved to Utah when I was 7, then I just had horses from there.
So you grew up in California, I think I heard you say, correct?
I was born there, and then, we lived there until 7.
Till you were 7. What part of California?
I was in Laguna Hills, so that's where my family was at. My dad was playing baseball there with the Dodgers, so he was there, and then he retired. I don't know, when I was in 94, so is when he retired.
I see. That's amazing. That's great. I remember seeing that in the show, but there wasn't a whole lot about it, so I was interested in that aspect. That had to be interesting. Did you love baseball and softball yourself when you were younger?
Well, he retired when I was 3, so I don't get to remember a lot of what he did. He played in the big leagues for 8.5 years. So he had a career in that for sure. And I don't get to remember it a lot because obviously I was pretty small, but I tried softball 1 year. I think I was 10-ish. And my dad told me to stick to horses. So my softball career was not very long. Now, my brothers got to play baseball, of course. They took after him and they played. My one brother played up through the minor leagues for 6 or 7 years. I don't know. Don't quote me on that one. But and then he just retired. The other brother, the other one, he played through college and everything. And then he's also retired too. So, yeah, they followed the baseball footsteps for sure.
Well, it's an interesting family dynamic. I mean, it doesn't sound like, at least your dad, it sounds like your mom was involved in horses to some extent. Is that right? So just curious about how you got involved. And was it just all you, or did they have horses in the family before?
So my mom loved horses. She had a horse when she was younger, but she didn't get to compete or anything. They didn't even have a trailer. So when she saw that I had an interest in them, she wanted to make it possible. So I think she really instilled, the idea of this is what I wanted to do and the passion of this is what I was going to do, and wanted to make sure that it was possible for me to have an opportunity to do it.
Mm-hmm. And you had trainers, and of course barrel racing became the thing. Was that something that you always gravitated to, or did you start out with 4-H and show?
Well, so the very first place that I started riding, those riding lessons, it was really horsemanship based. So we didn't really do anything with the horsemanship, which I'm glad I started there. I feel like that was a good place, that I didn't just jump right into a sport. I think it really taught me the communication with my horses and whatnot. And then when I got to Utah, I started barrel racing, and we found someone that would help me learn more in the barrel racing world. I also did English too. So I did pony club with English and learned to jump and do dressage and that side. I did both of them until I was 13, and then I had to pick one or the other. So then that's when I just went to the rodeo side of the world and got out of the English.
You like the speed part of it, right? The
Well,
competition.
and it makes sense to enter and you can win money.
Right.
But yes, the speed aspect as well.
It's a huge industry, the barrel racing industry. I mean, people who aren't involved in it directly might miss out on the fact that it is super competitive, and so many people now have very, very high dollar horses and very high dollar rigs that they're pulling them around the country with. So you're still involved, I take it, and ride your horse regularly and enter barrel racing competitions regularly.
Yeah, yep. So I have 7 horses right now, and I run 3 of them. And then I have my old retired horse, so he's here. And then I have 3 that I run, and then I have 3 young ones. Oh, I'm going to sell one, so I'll have 2 young ones. And then I'm going to stick with that number for a bit. But that's plenty to keep me busy. But yeah, I rotate through the 3 on who I enter and where, depending on what rodeo it is, or barrel race, or who's sound, or who's going to set up to succeed for that.
Mm-hmm. You know, being involved in horses has its own set of risks, and I think all of us who have been around horses a fair amount have had injuries. And I want to go back to your accident and how that transpired and your thought process as far as immediately after the accident occurred and you're laying up against a fence. Was that all depicted accurately? You're immobilized, laying up against a fence, thrown from your truck rolled, and there you are waiting for help and couldn't feel your legs from that point. Can you take us through just that experience, what it was like?
Yes, that was back in January of 2010. I was on my way to Denver for the stock show and was involved in a rollover truck accident. I overcorrected when I looked down to check my map, and so I was thrown from my truck and I hit a fence post. The movie Walk, Ride, Rodeo is about my story, so that's where people would have seen this scene. It was a little bit different than the scene, so I hit the fence post across my stomach, actually. Folded around it, broke it off, and carried it another 20 feet with that fence. In the movie, they have me hit it with my back. So, I mean, I think that was just the way that they could more easily portray it, and maybe not have it quite as graphic, so the kids could actually still be watching it. So, yeah. I didn't get knocked out, so that part was accurate. I was sitting there with the fence post next to me. That part is accurate. I was calm and kind of went through like a checklist of what I could feel and what I was okay with. And so like I could feel my head, I moved my fingers, I could move my fingers. And then when I looked down and moved my toes, I realized that I felt like I was sitting in warm water from the waist down. And that's when I realized like something was truly wrong. And I had to wait for people to show up, load me in the ambulance. And then I was told the news at the hospital that I was a T11, T12 spinal cord injury. And when I asked, what are the chances of me feeling or moving my legs again? They said slim to none, more to none. So life definitely started over there, trying to figure out, and that, that wasn't that was real life, not just, I mean, it was my horses too, but real life on what do I do now if I'm going to be in a chair.
Right, right. Was that the most difficult day of your life? I mean, I'm sure people would assume so, but I'm just curious as what you would say to that question.
For me, there's a lot of them. I mean, I would say it's a yes because obviously that's where my life changed, but it's a no because you don't realize how much it's changed yet. So,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense, right? So, I mean, yes, obviously that was the beginning of an entirely new chapter and new challenges and things I was going to have to figure out. But in that moment, you don't necessarily realize that.
Right,
You're hurt, what they tell you, but you're like, well, this isn't real. So I don't think it settles in necessarily right then. It's the days following of you try to ask your legs to move and they don't.
right,
You feel like your body betrays you when it's
right.
supposed to be doing what you ask. It's the first day I got back on a horse and I realized every part of my life was different. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's the challenges that go along with a spinal cord injury that's not just being in a chair.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could pinpoint maybe the hardest day of my whole life. I mean, I was on bed rest for 5 months due to a pressure sore too. That was pretty hard. I broke my leg with a horse accident. I've had all these things that definitely are ups and downs.
Yeah.
Um, we could put that day as the day where it started. Yeah, for sure.
I see. I mean, it's a traumatic injury. Obviously, it's like you said, it's a new life, a whole new experience. What got you through? What got you through that? Because I'm sure there's moments when you said, "Why me?" and maybe why didn't I just die in that accident? What got you through that?
I mean, yeah, there's definitely been days that I felt like I got the shorter end of the stick by still being here. I can't lie and say that that's not the case because that has been the case that I have felt like that. I tell people there's three things that has gotten me to where I'm at, and that's my family, my faith, and my horses. With those three things, I've been able to continue to move forward. And that doesn't mean that there are not very dark days, because there have been. And I'm sure there will be in the future. Like it just happens. Life is hard and it's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people who will be like, well, when are we going to get you on your feet? Or what can you do to be walking? And I'm like, man, it just doesn't work like that. Like, it's not due to lack of effort. It's not due
Yeah.
to lack of mental toughness. It's when it happens, hopefully it happens, right? Like, that's how I have to believe in it, that God has a plan for me on that. I will
Right.
never give up the idea of having my legs work ever. I just know that
I
I can't.
love that spirit. I mean, to hear that is encouraging.
Yeah, and I think you just can't put a timeline on those kind of things. But I mean, I'm lucky to have the people that surround me and support me. I'm lucky to have the faith that I have, that my parents instilled in me, and I'm lucky to have the horses that carry me to continue to do what I want to do.
Mm. How much do you feel horses have been therapeutic just in your day to day life and in your mental and emotional recovery?
Oh, I think it's huge. I do. I think that it's huge. I feel like the horses have allowed me to be me and feel like me in multiple times of this journey. I've been in my chair now 16 years. And I mean, they continue to show me that impossible is really only up to us. I just
Mm-hmm.
posted today. It was actually kind of crazy. It came up. I posted today that I ran a 16-second standard pattern, and so that is like to run a sub 17 on a standard set. Like it really is like when you get to feel elite. And I've done it one other time, but this is my second time on it. I was on a new horse that I did it, and I posted that today, and then I pop back open Facebook. I don't know, an hour or two later, and it pops up. The memories that come through, and a memory pops up that on I posted today on July 20th of 2010, my first day loping back on a horse. And I just was like, oh my gosh, like what a journey it has been to have that very first day back on a horse. And my comments or whatever, my post with that was like, I'm getting this figured out. I just need to practice. And then to know I just posted only a couple hours prior that I'd run this new personal record for myself on a standard set.
That's fantastic. Congratulations on all of that. It's very heartwarming to hear the story that you share. And, people believe that and agree with me because obviously there's a movie made about you and overcoming personal setbacks, personal tragedies, and so to speak, and dealing with life as it comes and not giving in, not necessarily quitting. I remember in my own career as a jockey, I had hit the pinnacle of my career in 1994, and it was a huge race that I'd always dreamed of being in. And the horse I was riding in the middle of the race broke both front legs and went end over end to the track, down, threw me, going that fast, 45 miles an hour at the time. And then the horse rolling and me rolling. And most of the time when you go down in a race like that with your stirrups so high and the horse ending up straight down, all kinds of bones will break, necks, backs, everything. And the grace of God, somehow I didn't have an injury that was significant. And all I remember is the emotional injury for me. That was the most tragic, traumatic thing I could have ever dreamed of as far as what happened in that race, the $2 million All-American futurity and all my family on hand. But what for me was the fear of getting back on the next horse. And I'm interested for you, since it wasn't an accident on the back of a horse, it was in a vehicle. Was there ever any fear of doing things like that again, driving or getting back? I know getting back on a horse was different, but did you have fear about doing either?
So, yes, I mean, the short answer is yes. Not the fear on the horses didn't come until later, until after I had horse accidents. So, I didn't have the initial fear on the back of the horse. I had an expectation, then that was hard. But as far as fear, I did really good until I've had some horse accidents. I've rode some young horses that I probably shouldn't rode, and they've gotten me hurt. And I've had horses fall. That's gotten me hurt. I had a horse flip over on me, and then now all of a sudden I'm a little more cautious on the back of a horse. I definitely am working on the mental game even right now. I'm not letting them scare me there. The vehicle only scared me. It's only made me nervous a couple times, but I've been pretty lucky there. So, I mean, the answer is like yes and no, right? Like since then I've had challenges that have made me be scared, that I've had to overcome and work through and continually work through on the back of a horse. Thankfully it wasn't right after though. Thankfully I didn't have to climb that mountain too.
Right. Well, and speaking of mountains, you used to be expecting a certain level of competition and commitment. And has your definition of success changed since your accident?
In some ways, yes. So I think in some ways, what I value and what I see as the success you leave behind doesn't always have to be a title or a buckle. It doesn't have to always be that. To know where you can be remembered and where you can be valued and where people are going to, want to follow your story or want to find inspiration or motivation or strength from you. So I think that success can be measured in different ways. But does my competitive side of me still like to win? I mean, 1000%. I love to win. I don't like losing. So that part of me doesn't change. I think that I have to give myself grace at times because of the situation that I'm in. So I will always know I'm at a disadvantage when I go in that arena, and I have to do the best I can with what I have. And so I have to try to give myself grace in those moments when things don't go the way that I planned due to that. But as far as like wanting to win, I mean, that doesn't change. Like I said, but then the value of what matters at the end of the day, I think has definitely evolved.
I see. Being a jockey for as long as I was, I had a large number of friends and, let's say, colleagues that I rode with or rode against who had traumatic and permanent injuries. Many times, paralysis. A lot of the riders that I know, several were killed on tracks where I was there and witnessed. And so it's not something to take lightly. Many of those friends that I have that had that life-changing experience of paralysis, it kind of goes two different ways. Some just faded away and you never see them again, ever. Others, however, stayed committed to that industry and they're still involved whether that's through training or being involved out there on the backside with the horses. I mean, maybe that's where they find their value or their existence or their purpose. And I remember a jockey, and this was years before I rode, but pretty famous jockey, you may have even heard of him, Bill Shoemaker. And he was one of the most famous to ever do it. Won the Kentucky Derby, I think 3, maybe 4 times. But he rode for a long, long time. He still has the record for the second most wins ever. And he rode his whole career. And after he retired, 1 year after he retired from riding, ironically, he's injured in a vehicle rollover and paralyzed over his whole body, quadriplegic. And he still didn't quit. He had such a passion for horses that he became a trainer, and he would go out to the track in his wheelchair and move his wheelchair through an air tube. But he could still communicate and what he wanted the grooms and the stable hands to do with the horses. And he actually had a successful training career until he retired, and rest is history. How do you see your life going forward? Are horses always going to be involved in your life?
I hope so. I mean, I would hope that I get to continue to have the passion and love for them, because I do. I don't imagine that fading. And so, I mean, similar to like that story, I would hope that in any futuristic plans or anything that happens, because of course, I mean, it's all up to God on how he gets to play, but that I get to have some involvement, right? I mean, people ask me, how long am I going to barrel race? And I say, I'm already strapped in, so I don't imagine I'm going to stop anytime soon. I feel like I already get to have that. And then it is going to be up to my body on how long it can handle it, as far as my back and my hips, like those things, I already have to deal with and work with in order to be on the back of horses. And so I think I would love to stay involved with them as long as I possibly can. I don't foresee that changing at all. And I already do clinics, so, I can continue to teach, even if that came along.
That's great. Do you have to do a lot of different physical exercises, workouts to have a strong core, more so than you did before?
Oh yeah, I don't think I worked out before at all. I actually didn't even take PE in school. So yes, I definitely had to shift my I guess help with that. So I mean, even like right now on this podcast, I'm standing in my standing frame. So I try to stand in my standing frame every day that I'm home. That helps everything stretch out. That helps me standing on my bones, so I can try to keep my bones stronger, because of course when you're sitting, your bones are going to naturally get weak because you're not using them. And then that puts me at higher risk of things breaking and getting injured. So I try to stand in my standing frame every day when I'm home. I have my robot legs that I walk in once a week. I have those. And then I also do CrossFit. So I've been starting doing CrossFit, and I do that so that I can strengthen what does work, and I can stay on top of that. And then, of course, I always utilize the same horse modalities that my horses have. I have my beamer, and I have a shockwave, and I have a laser, and I try to stay on top of them. Not really as good on those as I should be, but making myself as healthy as I can in order to continue to do what I love to do.
Love that. CrossFit, you say. So I'm pretty familiar with that. When did you start, and what gave you that idea to start doing that kind of workout?
So I started CrossFit in 2020 when the world shut down, because as a motivational speaker, it is tough to speak when groups are not allowed to gather. So very quickly, within a couple weeks, like everyone knows, the world changed very rapidly. And it was the same for me. All of a sudden, I was home. And I it's crazy enough that I bought my house in 2018, right? COVID happens in 2020. And the longest up until that I had been in my house, the longest stretch had been 8 days. I was gone a lot. 8 consecutive days. And so all of a sudden now here I was, where I was home every day. And that was when I actually was like, okay, well, what can I do to better myself while I'm home? Because that's what we've got to do. And I do continue, and I need to be better, but I feel like I put my health care on the back burner too often. And so I had the time to do it. So then that's when I started the CrossFit training then. And I started with a personal coach, like just, again, groups can't even gather anyway. So it was just small. And then now I get to go to, like, we can do bigger groups now, and I can obviously work around adapting so that I can do the workout too.
Wow. Wow. That is very cool to hear, that there's nothing in your standing in your way. That's what I call true grit. And where do you think that comes from? Was that something instilled in you when you were a kid, or is that genetic? Is that something that your parents taught you? Where did that come from?
Oh yeah, I say I have the perfect combination of parents. My dad, being the baseball player he was and had the career that he had, he knew what it took to be the best, and he wanted none less from his children. And so he really instilled in us perseverance and hard work, and that it requires effort in order to be great. And then, I mean, heck, when I was little, if I didn't win, he was first loser. Like, if you were second place, that's what you were. And I think, like, he hates that I tell that, but I'm like, Dad, like, I appreciate that, because
Yeah.
that is why I don't settle for less. Because you're always striving to be more and be better. And then
Mm-hmm.
my mom, why I say she was the perfect combination, is she would remind us that even if we didn't win, we were valuable. And
Yeah.
I really think that is what has made, I mean, I'm one of 6 kids, and I believe that is what has made us all mentally as tough as we can be.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. What about your kind of going back and looking at your whole life? Um, who believed in you during this? Maybe just from the accident and then the ensuing recovery for you. I'm sure there was some dark days. Who believed in you before you believed in yourself?
Definitely my family. Definitely my family has been there. They have been such a big piece. And I have a gal that she now helps with my horses. Her name is Emmy. I include her in that of my family of like my family category. Between all of them, they are definitely the ones that believed that I could do whatever I wanted to do, right? And it wasn't necessarily when, it was just how are we going to get there? It wasn't if it was going to happen, it was when and how are we going to do it?
Yeah.
And they continued to help me do that. I'd say, hey, this is what I want to do. They say, all right, what do we need to do to help you? And that, I think, is what has continued to help even now, when there's days when I am discouraged or I feel in a place where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just not working the way that I want. It's
Yeah.
those reminders.
Yeah. Are there any things in your life things that happen or you notice, or things that come across your awareness that triggers some kind of a bad reaction, so you have a bad day because of it?
Oh yeah, I would say for me, when you feel, there's a couple things. I tell people what makes me go from 0 to 100 is if I feel inconvenient. That one triggers a lot for me, is the feeling of being inconvenient. And that is because I could do so much by myself. I was independent. And so when I ask for help and I need help, and it makes me feel like it's inconvenient that I need it, that is not okay for me. That's probably my worst thing as far as what gets me upset. But it's really just the independence, right? When things just don't go the way that you planned. When I'm like, okay, I should be able to do this, and it's just not working. And then you get flustered, and then you get frustrated. Or if my body just needs rest and I don't mentally want the rest, I don't mentally want to take a break, but my body is like, you take a break or we're going to take it for you.
Mm.
And I've had to learn that a few different times, and that can get you frustrated. I'm handling that better now that I've learned that, okay, if you just take half a day and let yourself rest, you won't need to pay for it later. And I learned to appreciate that now. That doesn't necessarily trigger me so much. But yeah, I mean, there's always going to be things, and I don't think that's just me, right? That's everyone. There's things that just all of a sudden make you upset and make you flustered and make you,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, it
Yeah.
just in a space of like, oh my gosh, this is just not working.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting to hear, and I'm sure there's so many things and dark moments that you have to go through and soul search to find a way to get through that. Have you ever been mad at God and just get angry for your situation?
I mean, of course, I don't think I would be human if I didn't. And I say that because I know that God gives us grace.
Mm-hmm.
He puts us in these positions, or he allows us to be in these positions that we're like, oh my gosh, why? If you loved me, you wouldn't put me here. If you loved me, you
Mm-hmm.
would fix me. Or if you loved me, I wouldn't feel like this. And I think it's like, no, because I love you, I know you can handle it. Because I love you and you can lean on me, I know you can be stronger. And because I love you, I have the faith that you can continue to be strong and motivate and help and inspire. That's why I love my job as a speaker. I feel like it's one of the places I feel God the most, because I am reminded in those moments when I speak and when I meet people after that, okay, I am where I'm supposed to be. And he has been in here, he's been a part of my life the entire time. And he's always had a hand in this success. And that's in the arena, outside of the arena. And truly, I wouldn't be where I'm at without him, without the faith and without knowing that God has my back. And doesn't mean that I don't go some days I'm like, okay, this is not it today. Like, I need you to make this a little lighter today because it's just too heavy. And I feel like most of the time he does. Sometimes I think he's like, you're fine, calm down, you can handle it. But yeah, I mean, that is how you handle hard things, is by allowing God to carry some of it for you.
The faith
100%.
makes such a difference in everyone's life. We all go through challenges, some more difficult than others, obviously, and some kind of coast through seemingly having a perfect little lifestyle, but they're having their own mental anguish oftentimes, and we don't even know. We can't see behind the curtain of everyone's behavior, everyone's hurt, everyone's problems. And so this podcast is about harnessing your wealth. But wealth is not just finance. A lot of people mistake that term just meaning money. And wealth can mean so many things. It's amassing great things in all different capacities of life. Wealth can mean emotional wealth, or the freedom to have plenitude of freedom, to have plenitude of happiness. For you, now that you've experienced all that you have in your life and had enormous success and incredible influence over so many people out there, what does real wealth mean to you, Amberly?
I think to me, wealth is happiness. So it truly is what makes your heart happy. Because there are things in life that make us happy. I tell people that when I go to speak. I'm like, okay, I really love bread and I really love sugar and I really love my coffees and things like that. And those make me happy, right? But there are things in life that make your heart happy. And if you can build a life that you can be happy every day, I believe you are wealthy. And that can be making money, right? That can be what makes you happy. And that's okay. It can become something completely different. Like you said, it could be health, it could be time, it could be who you spend it with. But if you can build a life where you look forward to every day and you are happy and your heart is happy, I believe you are in a good place.
I love that. No matter your circumstances, you can have that wealth. You can have that love for life. It's all in how you perceive it. It's all in how you react to what's going on around you. And I think your story is amazing. I think you are amazing. I think that so many people look to you for influence and for motivation. So I know that there's always reasons of questioning where we're at in this world and why our life turned out the way it did. But I will turn to people like you often in order to just get through something that I feel like is a struggle or a difficulty. So I know that you're helping so many people, and I want to give you that shout out. And people that are watch your movie, listen to your shows, watch your posts, because there's so much to learn.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I wish you all the best, Amberly. Thank you for taking a few minutes to join us for Harnessing Your Wealth today. Folks out there, I hope that you will follow the show, give us a good comment here and there, and stay tuned for the next one. Until next time, stay on the saddle. Thanks for spending some time with me on Harnessing Your Wealth. Every person has a different story, a different journey, and a different definition of success. That's what I love about this podcast, getting to sit down with people from all interests and backgrounds and learn from their experiences. I hope you've taken away something from today's conversation that you can apply to your own life. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you subscribe to Harnessing Your Wealth, and please share it with someone you think would enjoy it. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Hold it down.